There we are. Good Tuesday morning. So in yesterday's class, as well as Sundays, we talked about making peace with change, impermanence, which is inevitable. There's a Yoga Sutra from book 2, number 15, and it says change, longing, habits, and the activity of the gunas, I'll explain that later, can all cause us suffering. In fact, even the wise suffer, for suffering is everywhere. That sounds a little dark, but dukkam is a Sanskrit word for suffering, and literally it means tightness or constriction in the chest or the heart area. That might be the felt sense you experience with any kind of suffering, like anger or fear or worry or anxiety. But Thich Nhat Hanh says something hopeful. He's a mindfulness teacher, and he said, we should not be afraid of suffering. We should be afraid of only one thing, and that is not knowing how to deal with suffering. If we accept and understand that suffering is part of our human condition, in fact, it's something that can later on provide us with compassion in being able to connect with each other's experiences. In Yoga Journal, it talks about how we can help deal with suffering. It says that if you can accept that no one is immune from suffering and you understand the causes of suffering, then you can be prepared for the suffering that is yet to come and avoid unnecessary or additional suffering. So let's go back to that Yoga Sutra, and it said the causes were change, and perhaps it's more about how we perceive and deal with change. Longing, like seeking for something that you feel like is unreachable. Habits, we talked a lot about that in the past few weeks, which are impressions made in our subconscious mind from repeatedly doing or repeatedly saying something to yourself, thus forming beliefs that can affect our perception of situations. And the last was activity of the gunas. The gunas, generally speaking, are energetic states of being. And we're constantly trying to balance our own energetic being, from being very, very high energy and go, 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 to a very calm and yin energy. And when we're out of balance, that can cause suffering in itself. So there's clear perception, and that's something that we really try to work on through the 8 limbs of yoga, besides the physical practice, which can help bring some clarity in mind as we pay attention to being present in our bodies, defining alignment. And then we've got all the way up to meditation, which is a way of watching our own minds, being able to see the thoughts and notice how they might be linked with past experiences. For example, triggers. When a situation happens in the present and somebody says something and it feels like a time warp that brings you into the past when you were a child per se, and you were hurt by something your father said. So having that clear perception of, wait, this is here and now, and that's back then. And when you can sit in the presence of awareness, that's a huge way of alleviating additional suffering, right? So how much can we compound upon the suffering that perhaps we can't control in the moment with other kinds of suffering that we can control, like the stories and narratives that we add on to our perception of the situation. The other sutra I wanted to share was from book 2, number 16, and it says, prevent the suffering that is yet to come. It doesn't mean avoid suffering, but prevent the additional suffering. So here are 3 general steps in mindfulness and yoga in doing so. 1, become aware of the suffering and identify the range of feelings around it, remembering that emotions are messengers to give us insight. 2, become aware of the true cause of our suffering, like those mentioned in the sutra. And then 3, when you recognize feelings that you do have some control over, take notice. They are only adding to your challenge or hardship. So imagine what it might feel like to let them go. So just important as we think about adding the other 8 limbs of yoga, remember there's non-violence, so being empathetic and kind to ourselves in this process, as well as patient, and that you're not alone. If suffering is a human condition, it's something that connects us all in some way too. And this is part of this lifetime. So I want to end with the words of Thich Nhat Hanh. Again, he says, when we see that mud is something that can help us grow, we become less afraid of it. So how might we perceive suffering from the angle of being a tool of our own evolution? And while we're not going to per se inflict suffering on ourselves in our physical practice, but I invite you to notice if you start to feel a tinge of whether it's mind talk causing suffering or physical posture, and just breathing into it for a moment, having that pause to become more aware. So as you're sitting, if you are crossing your legs, I invite you to switch the cross of the leg that's forward or on top. And we'll just begin to circle the spine forward and back. These are called Sufi rolls. And we just start to warm up the pelvic area, the lower back and hips. And maybe you close your eyes and just connect with how you're breathing in this moment. Perhaps mentally scan your body. Observe its energy right now. And how perhaps you can allow balance in exertion and calmness. And then as you sit up a little taller, lift up through the crown of your head and begin to rotate the shoulders forward as you take a deeper breath, lift it up. Then exhale behind you, then down. Deeply inhale to fill up your belly and lungs. And then exhale through your lips, draw a whisper out. One more time. And now as you bring your hands to your stomach, close your lips and focus on breathing into your belly. Inhale, expanding it, and exhale, drawing it in towards your spine. And as your lips are closed, inviting warmth in your body, especially in your belly area, we're gonna start to create a rhythm, Kapalabhati Pranayama, or breath of fire, in which you focus more on the pulsation of the belly towards the spine as you breathe out more actively like this. You might try a few times developing a rhythm and then pausing just to feel it out. So you can continue to have your hands in your belly as I set the timer for 1 minute of this practice. This has helped to warm us up, energize. Or you can add a Kriya, which is called Ego Eradicator from Kundalini Yoga, where you raise your arms straight and out to 60-degree angles, thumbs pointing towards the sky, other fingers curled in, and you want to feel an active stretch between your thumb and index. Shoulders relaxed, sitting tall, breath of fire like this. So whichever you're choosing, hands on the belly or arms up, prepare for 1 minute. Do what you can. If you need to pause and restart, feel free. Ready? Begin. Oh, and close your eyes, steady your gaze at your third eye center, center of your forehead. Focus on warming your belly, but keeping your neck, shoulders, and head cool. Deep breath in. Hold the breath in. Think of lifting your pelvic floor. Engage Mula Bandha. And as you exhale slowly through your lips, keep your eyes closed and bring your thumbs together to touch overhead if your arms are up. And then turn your palms face down as you release your arms by your sides onto your lap. Allow a pause to just breathe naturally and observe. Let's continue to build inner heat as you move into Ujjayi Pranayama, closing your lips, sustain your breath smoothly and equally in and out through your nose, while softly narrowing the back of your throat, thus inviting a gentle whisper you can listen to and help steady your attention on. Softly open your eyes and find your two blocks as we'll begin with that stretch into the shoulders. And if you don't have two blocks, that's okay. You can also use the floor. If you're using the blocks, place them on their medium height, like a number 11 in front of you, exactly your shoulders width apart. As you're standing on your knees, place your elbow on the center of each block, stabilizing them, and walk your knees back slightly behind your hips. Then press your fingertips into each other, hollowing between the palms, and start to trace your thumbs down the back of your skull towards the back of your neck and perhaps between your shoulder blades. As you would do in downward facing dog, rotate your outer upper arms towards the floor to help broaden across your shoulders. Allow your chest to sink as your head falls, but at the same time, lift your belly away from the ground to help support your lower back to lengthen. Listen to that soft whisper at the back of your throat. We'll be here for 3 more breaths. On your third exhale, contract your belly, slowly rise up onto your hands and knees, moving the blocks off of your mat. Take a few rounds of cat-cow any way you'd like to situate your hands. For example, if you want to stretch your inner wrists, you could spin your fingertips to turn out or back towards your knees. As you inhale into cow pose, glide your chest forward first before coiling it up, allowing length in your lower back. And as you exhale into cat, contract your belly first, then allow your head and tailbone to drop. A few more cycles on your own pace of breath. On your next exhalation, with your index fingers both facing forward, parallel to each other, come into downward facing dog. Spending a few breaths if you'd like to shift around first before you hold still. If you feel any tension along your neck, it might be helpful to softly shake and nod your head. Continue to rotate the outer sides of your upper arms towards the ground to broaden across the tops of your shoulders. As you look at the ground towards your feet to relax your neck. Parallel your feet about hips width apart and actively lift the front creases of your hips while pressing the very tops of your thigh bones back. And now holding still, let's take 3 more breaths. As you exhale, walk to the front of your mat to stand in a forward fold. Parallel the feet apart and press your hands on the ground or your shins. Inhaling as you lengthen your spine forward, slide your shoulders down your back. Exhale, keep leaning forward as you hinge from your hips. Firming down through toes spread. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead, keeping your shoulders relaxed down as you look up, palms touch. Then exhale, trace your thumbs down your center line. As you breathe and circle your arms again, take hold of your left wrist with your right hand. Lift your side waist and exhale, lean to your right, firming your left foot into the floor. Inhale, rise to center, catch your right wrist. Exhale, lift, then side bend to your left, firming your right foot down. Inhale, rise to center, open your arms wide, then exhale, hinge forward to fold. Press the ground of your legs. Inhale, lift the chest, look forward. Lower your fingertips outside of your heels and step your left knee to the floor, kneeling lunge. Untuck the toes. As you firm your right foot still, imagine that you're dragging your legs towards each other without visibly moving them. So you feel stable at your center as you start to rise up. Now you could use your hands to press your front thigh to help you lift your torso upright. Now let's take a few breaths here. If you're not using your hands on your thigh, backstroke your two hands behind you and place your hands on your lower back so that your fingertips are face down, like we would in camel pose. Encourage the flesh of your glutes to release towards the ground and slightly forward. As you lift your back ribs away from them, feel the belly firm in. Then bend your elbows closer together to broaden your chest. And take a deeper inhalation, roll your shoulders behind you and down, lifting your heart and softly your gaze. 2 more breaths. Now look at your right foot and let's place your 2 hands inside of it, scooting your right foot to the right, a little closer to the right edge of your mat, lizard lunge. We're gonna add some movement, so pause here. Notice if you might prefer to have blocks under your hands so that if you want to lift your back knee, you can come into a high lunge. You could also keep the back knee on the floor. You just wanna have space in your neck and shoulders. Now breathe into your lizard lunge. Keep your feet where they are. Then exhale, scissor your right outer hip back towards straightening your right leg and bow with a long spine inside of your right leg. Let's try that twice more. Inhale, rebend the right knee just over your heel. Exhale, scissor your right hip back, lengthen your chest forward to fold. Inhale, back to lizard lunge. Exhale, scissor and fold. Now, if your back knee is, go ahead and lower it and curl your right toes off the floor. And let's hold in this wider version of a half split for a few more breaths. Imagine there's a string pulling your sternum, the center of your chest, past the front edge of your mat. So there's a slight lift at the middle of your chest and the shoulders are relaxing away from your neck. And as you're plugging your right thigh bone back deeper into the hip socket, you're observing an equal length on both sides of your torso, left and right. Last couple of breaths, press your right big toe mound forward as you flex the foot. Now remove the blocks from underneath as you rebend your right knee and place your left hand flat on the floor, fingers spread, so your wrist is directly under your left shoulder. With your right hand on your right hip, straighten your left leg and tuck the toes. Now begin to flex both of your feet and roll onto the pinky toe outer edges of both feet as you drag your right foot to trace the right edge of your mat back halfway towards the rear. Keep leaning on your outer flex feet and then raise your right arm up and take a deeper breath, lifting your left hip as you sweep the right arm towards your front wall. Then exhale, dip your left hip to tap the floor and reach your right hand towards your rear wall. Twice more. Inhale, press the ground to rise, reach overhead. Exhale, tap the ground and look at your rear wall. Inhale, up and forward. Exhale, down and rear. From here, inhale up and forward, lower your hands and step into your version of plank pose. Whether knees are on the floor, legs straight, 3 deep breaths. Refine a feeling of lengthening. Top of your head and chest forward, tailbone and inner heels back. Keeping that length with a slight lift in your belly. You can decide to lower knees, chin, then slide on your belly for modification. or pass through Chaturanga, glide forward. Bend your elbows to hug your side ribs, then come all the way down. From the tops of your feet into the ground so much that your knees are actually lifted. Then inhale into Cobra, pelvis on the floor, shoulder blades down the back. Tuck your toes and exhale, press up with belly firm. Lift your pelvis into downward dog. Deep breath. Downward dog, inhale, raise your left leg behind you. As you exhale, bend that knee and turn open at the hip. Inhale here and tack your right hip further back. Then exhale, set your left foot directly between your hands. Spin your right heel to the ground for warrior two. Aligning left heel generally to arch of right foot, cartwheel your arms to rise up. We're gonna flow a bit, so warrior two, bend the front knee over the heel. Inhale here, and exhale. Next, inhale, straighten your left leg, raise your arms up and overhead. Maybe the palms touch, keep the right leg straight, and exhale, reverse triangle. Lean towards your rear wall, so left hand lands on your left leg. Inhale, come on up, back to warrior two. Exhale, lift up, and inhale into reverse triangle. Inhale, warrior two. And this time, lower your hands to the top of your mat and step both feet forward to folds. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up. Take hold of your right wrist and side bend to your left as you breathe out. Inhale up to center, take your left wrist. Exhale, side bend to your right. Inhale, center. Exhale, open your arms and fold. Inhale, lift your chest, look forward. Lower your fingertips outside your heels and step right knee back into a kneeling lunge. Your legs are hip apart, untuck your back toes, and firm down through your left foot to begin lifting your torso. Now you could use your hands pressing on top of your front thigh, or right away raise the arms overhead. Feel stability through the energetic action of scissoring your legs towards each other. Now if your arms are up in the air, backstroke them and try switching the interlacing of your thumb and index on top, the non-default way, and then start to trace the knuckles of your hands down your lower back, maybe down your right hamstring. Keep scissoring your left hip back as you lift the back ribs, coil your chest up, and soften the shoulders down for 2 more breaths. Now lifting your spine, look down at your left foot and place your 2 hands inside of it for lizard lunge. Scoot your left foot closer to the left edge of your mat and decide if you'd like to have blocks under your hands for easier accessibility. You could also lift the back knee if you can maintain space in your neck while doing so. Now breathe here in lizard lunge. Then exhale, scissor your left outer hip back. Keep your feet where they are as you're straightening the left leg to fold inside of it. Twice more. Inhale, rebend your left knee. Exhale, scissor your left outer hip back and bow. Inhale, bend your knee. Exhale, scissor and bow. Nice, feel that fluidity you're cultivating in your hips. Rebend your left knee. Remove the blocks from under and plant your right hand flat on the ground so your wrist is directly under your shoulders. Spread the fingers. Place your left hand on your left hip, straighten your right leg, and then roll onto the outer edges of both of your flexed feet. Trace your left foot down the left edge of your mat, midway down towards the rear, and keep pressing the ground away as you raise your left arm. Inhale. Lift your right hip a little higher and sweep your left arm overhead towards your front wall. Exhale, touch the ground with your right hip and reach the left hand towards your rear wall. Twice more. Inhale, lift and reach overhead. Exhale, lower and reach back. Inhale, lift, overhead. Exhale, lower and back. This time, reach overhead to lower into plank pose, pausing for just one inhalation this time, deciding on your vinyasa. Exhale to lower in your own way, then inhale to cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale back to downward facing dog. Deep breath. Inhale, raise your right leg behind you. As you exhale, bend that knee and turn open at your hip. Stay here as you inhale, tack your left hip further back. Then nice and controlled, step your right foot between your hands for warrior two. Spinning your left heel down, generally align your right heel to the arch of your left foot. Then root down to your feet and windmill your arms to rise up. Take a full cycle of breath as you bend your right knee just over the ankle. On your next inhale, straighten your right leg and raise your arms, maybe your palms touch. Keep your right leg straight and exhale into reverse triangle. Lean towards your rear wall, left hand lands in the left leg. Inhale, return to warrior two. Exhale, straighten the legs, bring your arms overhead. Inhale, reverse triangle, lean towards your rear wall. Exhale, come back to warrior. Inhale, lift up, arms overhead. Exhale, lean towards your rear wall. Inhale, warrior two. This time, lower your hands at the top of your mat and step forward to fold. With your feet touching, inhale, rise halfway. Preparing for sun salutation B, exhale, fold. Moving continuously to each breath, bend your knees to touch. Inhale, sink your hips back in chair pose. Exhale, dive forward to fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway, step to plank or float into chaturanga as you exhale. Continuing at your pace of breath through your own vinyasa. Let's meet in downward facing dog. From there, inhale, raise your right leg, keeping your hips leveled. Exhale, contract your belly to lightly land the foot inside of your right hand, spinning the back heel down, face forward. Inhale, rise slowly into warrior one, maybe the palms touch. Exhale, lower your hands to plank and continue into your vinyasa of choice. Arriving in downward facing dog. Inhale, raise your left leg. Keep your hips leveled. Exhale, contract your belly to softly land the foot inside of your left hand. Spin the right heel down. Inhale, rise up into Virabhadrasana 1. Maybe palms touch. Exhale, lower through plank into your version of your vinyasa. Allow 3 to 5 breaths in stillness. Downward facing dog, or perhaps child's pose anytime you need it. Then as you're ready, bend your knees, look ahead of your hands. On emptied breath, lift your pelvic floor to lightly land at the top. Inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. With knees touching, inhale, sit back into chair pose. And exhale, rise up. So let's turn to face the wide width of your mat. Grab your blocks if you have any. And open up your arms as you stand in the middle. Step or jump your feet about as wide apart as your hands. Place your blocks behind your calves. And if you have a strap, you'll want to grab that too. Sorry, forgot. And as a extension of your arms, if you're feeling any tightness in the front of your shoulders, I like to just wear it like a scarf so it's there in case I need it. So now as you open the arms here, ankles are pretty much right under your wrists. I'm gonna mirror you here. So rotate from your hips, your thighs, and pivot your feet both to face your left foot, your front leg. Generally align the heel to the arch of your right foot and bend your left knee like you would in Warrior Two. In fact, let's come into Warrior Two for a moment. Feel how your left outer hip is rotating slightly under your body so that you can align the middle of your left kneecap with your middle left toe, directly facing forward. Through the help of your right leg slightly turning inward, firm the top of your left thigh bone towards the wide edge of your mat behind you. And feel how your shoulders are balanced over your two hips, spine is tall, lower belly is slightly engaged. Let's take 2 more breaths to just feel the energetic quality of how you are holding this posture. Now, keeping your left knee bent, we're going to come into a version of side angle pose. So continue to rotate your left outer hip under, but glide your pelvis slightly towards your rear leg as you reach your left hand forward past your left knee. Bring your left forearm onto your left thigh and gently press off of it, not completely lean into it. Now, as you continue to rotate that left thigh open to face forward, raise your right arm to the sky and see if you can rotate your chest slightly towards the sky. Softening both shoulders away from your neck. Actively lengthen your tailbone back towards your right outer heel. So here's modified side angle, but we're going to open up that right inner shoulder a bit. Here's where you might use a strap. So taking the strap in your right hand, if you have one, wrap your right arm behind your back. Perhaps use your fingers to hold on to the top of your left thigh and be right here in a half bind. Or you dangle the strap outside your left thigh so that your left hand can reach inside of your left thigh, underneath and catch hold of the other end, in which you walk your hands as close together as you can. Continue to rotate the left thigh open and the chest towards the sky while elongating your tailbone towards your right heel. Feeling spacious, not compression, in your lower back. Now, some of you might walk your hands close. You could clasp your fingers and still lean your chest back, not round forward. If any rounding forward begins to happen, it starts to become counterproductive. So you can easily ease off a stage or few. So whatever variation of Utthita Parshva Konasana, let's take 3 more breaths. Steadying your gaze up towards the sky if it feels okay on your neck. Now keep the bend in your left knee. This will require some quad and side core strength, and begin to lift your torso slowly upright. Come back to Warrior Two. Nice. Straighten your left leg. Perhaps shorten your stance a couple inches for triangle. Firming the front muscles of your thighs, glide your pelvis sideways towards your rear leg again, and reach your left hand forward, then down onto your leg or just to the left of it, where you could press the arm and leg against each other. And as you reach up through that right hand, see if you can lighten the weight of your left hand. Feel the support of your belly too. Then again, steady your drishti or gaze for 3 more breaths. Utthita Trikonasana. Firming down through both feet. Inhale, slowly rise up. Grab your strap while you're down here to reach it, and maybe your block if you only have one, and then come on up. You can put that scarf back on as you rotate from your hips. Pivot both of your feet to face the opposite edge of your mat, side 2. Align your right heel to the arch of your left foot. Then bend your right knee just over the ankle. Let's pause in Warrior Two for a few breaths. So feel As you steady your gaze just ahead of your right hand, your right outer hip rotating slightly under your body to allow the middle of your right kneecap to line up with your middle right toe down the center line of your mat. The left leg turning slightly inward helps that as well. Firm the top of your left thigh bone towards the wide width of your mat behind you. Now feel how your shoulders stack just above your hips as you lengthen your spine. Still tuning into your breathing. Let's enter side angle by keeping the bend in your right knee and sliding your pelvis slightly towards your rear leg as you reach the right hand past your right knee. Press your forearm against your right thigh to help continue lengthening both sides of your torso, left and right. Left arm towards the sky as you turn the chest slightly upwards. Draw your shoulder blades down your back. Check in with your breathing as it will help guide you to the variation of pose necessary. Now, you could find by wrapping the left arm behind your back, whether it lands on your sacrum or you're able to catch hold of the top of your right thigh. If you have a strap, you can move towards full bind. Left hand holding the strap, and you wrap the left arm behind you, dangling the strap outside of your right thigh. Right hand can reach underneath, catch the other end, and as you walk your hands close together, you press your right arm and inner right thigh against each other to continue the same shape in your legs while rotating your chest further to face the sky. If your hands can meet without rounding your back forward, then perhaps you clasp your fingers. As you steady your gaze, maybe up towards the sky, 3 more deep breaths in side angle pose, bound side angle pose. Now firming down through both feet, unravel the arms and lift your torso slowly and controlled back to warrior 2. Straighten your front leg. You might shorten your stance a couple inches for triangle pose. Keep engaging the front muscles of your thighs. Glide your pelvis towards your rear leg and reach your right hand past your right knee before lowering it onto your leg or just to the right outside of it, where your arm and leg could still firm against each other. Now, as you're raising your left arm towards the sky, use the energy of that lift to feel lighter weight in your right hand. Steady your gaze up if it feels okay on your neck. Now let's breathe here for 3 more cycles. This time, look down at your front foot. Cartwheel your hands to frame it into plank pose, whether you choose to rest in child's pose or flow through your version of a vinyasa. We'll eventually meet back in downward facing dog. Re-lengthening your breath equally through your nose. From here, walk your hands back towards your feet to fold over your legs. Make sure that your feet are apart, about hips distance parallel, and feel free to bend your knees so that you're able to lift your toes, slip your palms face up under the soles of your feet, stepping on your hands to stretch your outer wrists and forearms in a posture called Padahastasana. Leaning more weight forward, imagine pressing your heart through the gates of your arms. Take a deep inhale. Keep this length in your neck, rest of your spine, and then exhale, fold in. If you're able to, bend your elbows apart. Relax your neck, lift the shoulders away from it. Let's try that half fold once more. Inhale, lift your chest, glide your shoulders back. Keep leaning forward and exhale to fold. Now holding this forward fold, allow a few more breaths. You might decide to Shake and nod your head, releasing your neck. Continue to lift your shoulders away from it. Maybe fluttering your lips. If you find any tension in the jaw, you can help dissolve. Slip your palms out from underneath. And then firm down through your feet as you bring your hands to your hips. Bend your elbows towards the sky. Perhaps you put a little bend in the knees to encourage a long back. Then leading with your chest, inhale, slowly rise up. To standing tall in mountain pose, bring your feet to touch, spread your toes, and firm down through the four corners of each foot. Feel that rooting down, helping a lift up. Now, as you bring your hands to your hips, feel how they're pretty much leveled, generally, left and right sides, and try to keep that leveling. In fact, I'm kind of pulling down my pelvis as I'm lifting up my spine. So I feel that contrast of rooting and rising. As you lift your right foot, flex it, lifting the knee about the height of your hip. Now bringing your right hand on your outer right knee, begin to open your right leg and consciously roll your right glute down under your body as you were doing in Warrior Two, front leg. Imagine your tailbone is seeking your inner left heel as you press down through the four corners of that foot. Now adding what we played with. Wrap your left arm behind you and maybe it touches your lower back. Maybe you're able to reach for the right thigh and you can encourage your right hand to rotate that right thigh outward so the sitting bone draws down towards your inner left heel. Perhaps you bring your right arm inside of the leg and catch hold of or your big toe clasping with your piece, in which you might explore to some degree straightening your right leg out to its side. So this is just a hybrid or a bound version of hand to big toe pose. Taking 2 more breaths, root into the floor. Feel the center line of your body as you rise through your crown. Now let's reverse the stages, bending the right knee if it's straight. Hand on the right knee, release the left hand to your left hip. Bring the right knee in front, take a breath, and set your right foot down, release. Close your eyes. Imagine you could breathe in from the soles of your feet and ride the breath up your body to your crown. Trace the exhale back down to the earth, like a reset with the help of the earth. Open your eyes, steady your gaze on something ahead, and then bring your hands to your hips. And again, I'm drawing the pelvis downward, feeling the rooted down of both feet as I lift the spine from it. Keep the balance in your hips and flex your left foot as you lift it. Knees bent in front of you, catch the outer knee. Steady breathing, you can begin to open the left leg out to its side. Adding the bind, right arm wraps behind you, maybe onto your lower back. Maybe it catches hold of the top of your left thigh, helping to rotate it externally, directing the left sitting bone towards your inner right heel. Now, if you want to play with, to some degree, straightening the left leg, bring your left arm inside the leg, catch your ankle, or clasp your big toe. Still flexing the foot, you can begin to straighten the left leg to whatever degree. You can relax your shoulders right over your hips. Last 2 breaths. Feel the support of the ground under, and as you press into it, down. Now let's reverse the stages to come out. Bend your left knee if it's straight, catch the outer knee. Release the right hand to your right hip. Bring the left knee in front, pause for breath. Then set your left foot down and let it go. One more time. You might close your eyes to imagine the next inhalation beginning at the soles of your feet. Up your legs, up your spine, up your crown. And the exhalation from your crown down towards your legs, feet, and the earth. Feeling that interconnection. So let's come down to your hands and knees. We're going to prepare for a few last rounds of back bends. So come all the way down to lie on your belly. A yin pose to start. Lower your right ear to the floor and slide your right arm straight out to the right so that your palm is face down and in line with your right shoulder. With the help of your left hand beside your left shoulder pressing the ground, start to roll over onto your right hip, stacking your 2 feet. Pause here as you breathe and notice how this feels on the front of your right shoulder. Maybe you stay here. See if you can slide your right shoulder blade further down your back ribs. If you're feeling like you could use a little more sensation, you can begin to step your left foot behind you, off your mat onto the ground. Maybe bend your left knee up, putting even more weight on that back foot. You might even explore how it feels to wrap your left arm behind your back. In whatever variation you're in now, let's take 3 more breaths to witness any sensations that arise. Practicing that awareness that is the initial, so important step in dealing with suffering. Not to say that you're suffering now, but as we talked about in the beginning, start to roll over onto your belly. Gradually switching sides as you turn your left ear to the floor and slide your left arm straight out to the left, palm face down in line with your left shoulder. With the help of your right hand pressing the earth, begin to roll onto your left hip, stacking your feet. Pause there and just check in. Breathing, sensations. Slide your left shoulder further down your back. If you're itching for more sensation, you might step the right foot behind you. The amount of weight you put into that foot. You might also wrap the right arm behind you. Patience and empathy through the process. Last 3 breaths here. And then roll onto your stomach gently. We're going to set up for one last active back bend, which is bow pose Dhanurasana. If you have any lower back issues and you're staying away from catching hold of your feet behind you, keep your legs straight instead, and you can raise your body like this in locust pose. Otherwise, bend your knees and catch hold of your outer feet. In either posture, try to keep your knees no wider than your hips distance apart. Press your pubic bone onto the earth and kick your legs straight as you pull your feet towards you, lifting your knees. Right under your shoulder blades, contract your back mostly as you lift and broaden your chest. Count about 5 to 10 breaths, your own count, before letting go to rest. Mentally scan your body and notice how you're balancing energies of effort and ease, of doing and letting go. And when you land to rest, allow about 3 deep breaths into your belly. Then press your hands alongside your floating ribs and slowly make your way up to sit, preparing for a seated spinal twist. Raining a lot in our music today. Let's extend the left leg forward, and you can either step your right foot in front of your hip, cross it over your left knee, or also bend your left knee. Just as long as your 2 hips are evenly grounded and your spine is easily tall. Backstroke your right hand on the floor behind your pelvis and raise your arm. As you press into the ground, deeply inhale and lift up through each vertebra and your crown. Then exhale at your waist, twist to your right and lower your left hand onto your right shin. or hook your elbow outside of your right thigh. Broadening your chest, lift your sternum, lift your crown, and soften your shoulders down. Continue to twist as you exhale and hollow your belly for 3 more breaths. Breathing out, unwind your spine. And let's extend right leg forward, step your left foot either in front of the hip, outside of your right knee, or also bend your right knee. Backstroke your left hand behind your pelvis, raise your right arm, and then press into the ground as you sit up a little taller. Breathe in, exhale, twist to your left, and lower your right arm onto your shin, or hook your elbow outside your thigh. Lift and broaden your chest. Lift through the back of your skull. And as you exhale, hollow your belly, continue to twist. Let's take 3 more breaths. As you breathe out, unwind your spine, straightening both legs in front of you for Dandasana, stick pose. Separate your feet about hips width apart, flex your feet and spread your toes. Think of pressing your big toe mounds forward as you firm down through your sitting bones, lift up your rib cage, but relax your shoulders. Hands alongside your hips, this is the posture. Growing the spine as you root into the earth for a few breaths. Dandasana. Feel the fronts of your thighs firm. And now moving into Paschimottanasana, a forward fold. Hinge from your hips and begin to walk your hands down your legs. And as you're gently pulling your legs towards you, use that to allow your chest to keep broadening forward and slightly lift. Elongate your spine from your pelvis while hugging your outer hips towards your spine. And that action helps to traction and support your lower back. Maybe clasp your big toes. And let's allow 3 more breaths here. And when you're ready, on an inhalation, lifting your chest, lift your spine. Let's bend the knees, bring your pelvis to the center of your mat, and as you press your feet firmly onto the ground, reach your arms forward with your palms face up. Tall spine, shoulders relaxed. Take a few breaths to slowly, in strengthening core stability, lower onto your back. Feel the balance and effort and ease here. Now we're going to practice a supine version of eagle pose. Once your skull is on the ground, bend your knees off the ground, lift the feet, and cross your right thigh over your left thigh as much as you can. Maybe the feet flare apart flexed, or you're able to tuck your right toes behind your left calf. Now keep your legs lifted, your pelvis on the floor, and now cactus bend your elbows apart. With your right leg on top, cross your left elbow over the right. Now you could give yourself a hug because we're really trying to focus on opening the upper back here. Or you could hook your thumbs or go even further and wrap your forearms and palms. Now soften your shoulders away from your neck and take a deep inhalation, pelvis and shoulders heavy on the floor. Exhale here. Just 3 more breaths. Feel your shoulder blades broadening across your upper back as you lengthen your neck. Aligning your elbows and knees down the midline of your body. Did you know you could practice eagle pose Lying on your back, we usually do this balancing on one foot. Take a deep breath, prepare to fly, and then exhale, open your wings, open your legs, and switch. Left thigh over right, flex your feet, or hook your left toes behind your right calf. Pelvis heavy on the ground, feet lifted. Cactus bend your elbows, with left leg on top, cross right elbow over left. Give yourself a hug, or hook your thumbs, or wrap your forearms in palms. Then soften the shoulders away from your neck. Elbows are aligned with your shoulders as you're pressing your forearms gently towards the sky. Knees are stacking down your center line. 3 breaths. Supta Garudasana, supine eagle pose. Take another inhale, prepare for flight, a grounded flight, and then open your wings, happy baby. Deep inhale into your belly, long loud sigh or lion's breath through the mouth. Take a couple more on your own. Big releasing exhalations. Then as you're ready, gently lower your body to rest for a few minutes in Shavasana. Now, as you continue to lie here, observing your natural breath, decide if you'd like to stay in Shavasana for the last 2 minutes or to sit upright for meditation, a mindfulness meditation. So if the latter, gradually lift your body. Allow it to sit grounded and tall. Perhaps the eyes are closed. As you just allow space in these 2 minutes to observe anything that comes up within you. Your body's sensations, thoughts, energetic feelings, emotions. And practice being aware and and returning to your seat of being present with your breath. Allowing deeper breaths in and slower breaths out. You're going to move your body if you're lying down to gradually and gently rise up. Join us in sitting as we close. Bringing the palms together at your heart. We bow in this gesture of gratitude to ourselves for willingness to explore, expand our perspective, and increasing our awareness and finding clarity of perception. Perhaps we help to alleviate unnecessary suffering. And this deep understanding that we are all interconnected and we're never alone. We share this human condition. Let's close with one Om. Take a deep breath. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.